welcome to this week's episode of Work the Left Side. I'm joined this week by Johnnie from GPW, who have their 20th anniversary show next month, right round the corner. How you going, man? You all right?
I'm very good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us on and to talk about the show.
Happy to have you on, man, because anybody who watches this, anybody knows anything about Work the Left Side, massive fan of British wrestling. I like to be able to shine as much light on different promotions as possible. And obviously, GPW is one of the ones that thoroughly deserves to be in the spotlight. As mentioned, you got a 20th anniversary show coming up. 20 years in British wrestling, that's not something to be yawned at. That's a massive achievement, dude. So firstly, congratulations.
Thank you. I think it's down to my stubbornness.
Never underestimate the awesomeness of stubbornness when it comes to just keeping going, cracking on. As we kind of talked before the recording, everybody had a bit of a dip a couple of years ago. People are coming back out of it stronger, from what I'm hearing from other people. But I mean, prior to that, you were like one of the first promotions, because again, I don't know if you've seen people that I've had on in the past. I kind of have a combination of new talent, old talent, talent people know. I've had like your RJ Singhs, Haskins, Cruz, Myers, guys like that. Sticks, who I kind of heralded as kind of launching the second coming of British wrestling, and that would have been about 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I think when those guys started learning the trade and building stuff up. So obviously, same sort of timeline, very much as yourself.
Yeah, all those names are very familiar to me. Yeah, my journey in British wrestling started 23 years ago. So yeah, I've been around a little longer than Grand Pro, but Grand Pro started 20 years ago. So definitely one of the founding fathers of the British wrestling as it is at the moment, and it is the founding father of Northwest wrestling. Although Future Shock weren't too far behind us, but we started slightly before.
Yeah, Future Shock's obviously another name that's on the radar that's still kicking about, doing good stuff. So we'll tick the generic boxes. You say you kind of started 23 years ago, prior to 3 years earlier. How do you dip your toe into the business? Was it did you get involved through love of watching it on TV? Was it recommended to you? Is it something you saw and you thought, do that?
Yeah. So going back, I've got a little boy who's 4 years old, and he's turning 5 in a couple of weeks. So when I was probably his age, 4, so when your memories start to form, my earliest memory is watching wrestling. I don't ever remember watching anything else on television, although I am told I watched The Snowman over and over and over again, but I don't remember it. I remember watching wrestling. I remember watching Hogan, Warrior, sort of that golden era of wrestling, and just being absolutely captivated by the colourfulness, the characters, the storylines, the moves, everything. So I've always wanted to be involved in wrestling, but you have to wind the clock back 23 years ago. So in internet in the infancy of dial-up connections and whatnot, and a lot of secrecy behind how to get into the business. So I always had it in mind that I was just going to go to America and try and make it over there when I was still in school. And then when I went to uni, I took a part-time job. I'm from Blackpool, live in Blackpool, so people might have heard of Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And in Blackpool Pleasure Beach, they have a interactive haunted house called the Passage del Terror, which is a franchise across the world. And I was one of the actors inside that Passage del Terror. So if anyone's been through, about 23 years ago, I might have scared you. And some people say I'm still scaring people now, but I don't work there anymore. And above Passage del Terror was a place called the Paradise Rooms, which is still there now. And they used to run these hokey wrestling events there, tribute events. And one of the wrestlers on that show up there used to wrestle his match and come down and work in the Passage del Terror. and he was sort of really hard to get to know because he didn't want to speak to you. But over time, I broke him down and found out where to go to get trained. So yeah, I started training 23 years ago in Wigan, which is where Grand Pro is based. And yeah, that's where it started for me. So yeah, started wrestling myself. I've not actually retired from wrestling. I just haven't worn my gear in a long time.
Yeah, just keeping it to the side, just in case, ready for that.
Yeah. So following that path, yeah, that's how it all started for me. Very different world back then, extremely different world back then. Exciting to think about it. Some great stories from back then, but yeah, that was kind of my start into it. Yeah.
Because it seems like I'm talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and it seems like you're literally 30 minutes away from any wrestling school nowadays. No matter where you live, you're literally like 30 minutes maximum away from a school somewhere. Like sort of say, I know, like when I'm speaking to like RJ Singers, guys like that, they're sort of saying they've travelled a couple of hours sometimes, to go to a school. So it's definitely evolved. It's obviously becoming much more accessible, which has got to be a good thing because it means the popularity is there. People want to go to these schools, which is so it's supply and demand. So that in itself is good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have a bit of choice as well for people. As hopefully, there is an abundance of schools, but not all of them are good. So people need to do some research. Like the school I started at, I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it was not. It was absolutely rubbish. But it was Hobson's choice back at the time. I didn't have anywhere else to go or anywhere else to really research. I know, in fact, the chap that introduced me decided he wanted to get retrained, but he relocated to London to do it. I didn't fancy doing that, so I stuck with Wigan. Got trained badly, but picked up the rest as I went on.
Basics, yeah, I've heard that story so many times. Like I say, back in the day, the schools were just empty warehouses with some mattresses on the floor or some, crash mats from an old school or something.
Yeah,
and that was literally boom. And it's like, if you can learn to take a bump on them, it's all good. It's all good and dandy once you finally get in the ring.
Yeah. My warm up. He was on the third floor of this sort of old warehouse in Wigan, and the warm up with the session. It was only me in the class. The warm up of the session was to sweep the broken glass out of the kickboxing ring. That was.
Get some old school Karate Kid vibe going on, kind of thing. It's like, you got to do this, got to do that. It's like really dirty work, but it's like patience. Your muscle memory. Once you've done that sweeping, you'll be able to do this. Like, there we go. So you did that. And then how did GPWs launch come about then? 20 years ago.
Yeah, good question. It's kind of an interesting story that I could spend a long time talking about, but I'll try and do it quickly. So Grand Pro Wrestling is run by me now. Has been run by me since 2005, but it was started in 2003 by someone else called Lee Butler. He started up Garage Pro Wrestling, GPW still, and had a training school set up, sort of the best training school in the country at the time, with guest trainers, a beautiful ring, great facilities. Lee is not with us anymore. He's passed away some years ago. So I don't want to speak too ill of him, but Lee wasn't too fond of the truth, and things started to get wrapped up around Lee. So he probably ran on Grand Pro for about 12 months or so, and we did well. We had some epic shows. We started at the Monaco Ballroom, which is where we've sort of become synonymous with over the last 20 years, and where our 20th anniversary event will be. We started our first event there in July 2003. But Lee got himself into a lot of trouble with people not paying debts and stuff, and kind of disappeared, and left. I think at the time we probably had about 30, or at least 30, probably 40 trainees. Some shows still booked, a bit of a following, and no leader. So Damon Lee took up the opportunity to promote a couple of shows, but didn't really have. I think he will. I know he would be the first to admit he didn't have the business acumen behind it to run it. So his shows that I think he ran at a loss, and it was just sad to see something sinking. And I knew I could do it, so I put my hand up and I took over the reins in 2005, and have, like I said at the start, stubbornness has not let me let go of those reins yet. So yeah, still here.
And the rest is history, as they say, kind of thing. Still going, still cracking on. Just looking at the card for the 20th anniversary, you got some amazing talent, names booked on the show. That's not just like as a one-off. I know it's consistently putting on these kind of shows.
Yeah, so we're a storyline company. So we, the kind of, I like to commit. One of my values in life is loyalty, and so I'm loyal to the roster of wrestlers that we have. As long as they can get over and we can get that storyline across the audience, then that wrestler or wrestlers will remain on the roster and be rehashed in another way. So for the last 20 years, we told stories, built characters, told stories, and given people matches that hopefully mean something rather than just any old match. So a lot of the faces that you'll see in Grand Pro, you'll see reoccurring, and it gives the opportunity for them to dive deep into that character, to that story. It gives the fans the opportunity to go along on the journey with that character. But over the years, I've tried to tweak the shows in the way that it's not it doesn't exclude people who haven't been at the shows before, so they can jump into that storyline at any point, really. So for the 20th year show, will still be storylines, but it will not be complicated for people to jump in at any point. This is kind of the start. We haven't had a show for 3 years because of COVID and venue problems, which we can get into later if you want, just to bring people up to date with what's happened. And so this will be kind of like a new set of storylines, but with familiar faces. So I'm aiming for. I've had so many messages over the last 3 years about how we miss Grand Pro. What I'm aiming for the event is kind of that homely, home cooked meal feeling that people will feel very comfortable with and familiar with, but there'll be lots of surprises as well on the event. But yeah, the faces will be familiar, although the card is concocted mainly of matches that have never happened before. So hopefully that'll be interesting, and I think that's a pretty good achievement considering we've been going so long and still managing to bring original storylines and original matches. But yeah,
definitely, dude. And as you sort of say, it's a good launching pad. You want fresh matches. You don't want to rehash the stuff that's been done previously. Like you sort of said, I'll get a bit more information in a minute. But yeah, if this is like your first show back since the Global Bastards, and this is like right, you're now relaunching again based on the back of this show. Obviously, you're coming back with a massive milestone, because even if you've been away for a couple of years, it's still you never stopped. It never ended, kind of thing. You was just getting stuff ready for your comeback, and this is it. So still, 20 years in the making. This show, your regular fans obviously will eat it up. That was going to be buzzing, the electricity. But as you sort of said, it's a good starting pad for people who have never been to a GPW show before. They can come to this show, start from scratch, feel like part of the family, and then they can just pick up and just run with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea. They can see what I've gone for is it would have been a good opportunity, I suppose, in many respects, to have come back from the gap and rebranded a little bit and gone in a different direction. But I knew that's not the sense that I wanted. Going back to the loyalty type thing, and it's not the sense that I got. People missed us, what we were. So the card kind of wrote itself. The card's been booked for months. It kind of wrote itself because I knew the characters, I knew the faces that we needed on that show to give that feeling to people, and we've got loads of surprises planned as well. So it's not just going to be what you see on the card. There'll be things that happen elsewhere as well. But yeah, this will be. If people have never seen Grand Pro before, then this will be what they're missing out on. This is the kind of thing that they're missing out of. A fun show, great wrestling. And the thing is with us, and especially this card, you'll notice a lot of names that haven't wrestled anywhere else, don't wrestle anywhere else, only wrestle for us. And I think we're lucky. We're lucky to be able to do that. And I'm just excited to see how it plans out with people. And going forward, there will be this will be a storyline based show, but it'll be more of a storyline on the night.
Yeah.
So people can go away feeling satisfied.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with obviously various promotions that I've been to, over the years. Obviously, it's always good to have one or two long story arcs that pull you back in every time, the hours of show. It's like, crap, I've got to go to the next show to see how that evolves. And then you've got slightly littler, maybe one or two show story arcs that can wrap up very easily. And then possibly one or two exhibition matches that you can just go and enjoy as a one-off on that show kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's finding that balance of the long arcs, the short arcs, the exhibition matches, and then also being able to kind of let people know what they've missed if you have got that long arc, if they haven't been to a show before. It's having that kind of medium. I suppose that's obviously where social media comes in. You can use social media, to keep people in the loop of what's gone on. If they haven't been to a show, you can link them to something, or you can put things anywhere. Like I said, it's on the internet. You've got that feeling of having missed out isn't as bad now because you can always access stuff.
Yeah, and we've got a huge back catalogue on Vimeo, so we try and put all our shows on there. So there's 20 years worth of events on Vimeo. So if people do feel like they want to do that, they can do that.
That's it. I'll say it's a good way of doing it, because obviously, if you come in halfway through a story and you kind of got that inquisitive nature, you want to know how it got to that point. So I'd go out on a mission to find out, the previous shows, whether it be on DVD, Blu-ray, footage. And it's just a way of keeping. That's why I love stories in wrestling, because you can join in at any point.
Yeah.
And then you can always backtrack. You get that joy of discovering how it got to that point.
Yeah.
When you.
What I'm always interested in, and this is not just in wrestling, in films or series or whatever, is the origin story of those particular wrestlers. So why is that wrestler like that? Is there an origin story that we have to go back to, or can we tell it? Or that's what interests me. So it's always been the same with me. Like, that's what's hooked me, the story and the characters. So that's what I try and do in wrestling.
Yeah, I kind of not sidebar a little bit, keep it obviously in the wrestling, but I'm a massive. Anybody knows me knows I'm a massive comic book geek. I'm a massive movie geek. And 9 times out of 10, the origin stories are great, and it's kind of nice to be able to find out. But every now and again, you get that one person who I just don't want to know the origin story of,
right?
Because no, that's like a Wolverine. I never cared. Like, the whole thing about Wolverine was his mystique. For like 30 years as a comic book fan, nobody knew anything about his past.
Yeah,
start slowly drip feeding it. The Star Wars prequels, Vader was a badass, and then you find out his origin.
Yeah,
and he's got whooped by a woman. And it's just like, it kind of ruins the character sometimes.
Absolutely,
that balance as well, where explain the origin, but if you've got a certain character, have like a bit of a mystique as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those things are just money making things, aren't they? It's just a way for Disney to make money, isn't it? When they went back for that, there's no need to do that.
but definitely stories. Again, it's conversations we've had before where what's more important in wrestling, like one-off 5-star matches or actual genuine moments. As fans, we often remember the moments more.
Yes,
I love watching 5-star matches. I love rewatching 5-star matches. But when I'm talking with my mates, it's always like, when Stone Cold got hit by the car, in '99, when got taken out. It's all these moments in wrestling history, like when the NWO was formed, or when Austin won in '96 at King of the Ring. It's the moments you remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And what sort of tagline is that we don't necessarily do 5-star matches, but we do 5-star storylines, and people. And people, like you say, if you go and watch a film, you will sit through a 2-hour film. You're not going to remember all 2 hours. You can remember those moments that build up to that sort of crescendo bit. And it's the same as matches. You're not going to remember a whole 12-minute match or a 20-minute match or even a 7-minute match, but you'll remember that pose, that move, that moment, that feeling. And you can't do it all the time. It takes time. It takes a seasoned promoter. It takes a seasoned wrestler to come together and find where that moment is and give the people that. And that I'm a big. We've got, probably not a big surprise, but we've had kids that have now grown up, had their own kids, and bringing their kids to shows, and they remember moments, like just those little flashes of when someone beat someone and when someone lifted the title for the first time, and it's amazing. It's class.
That's it. And then, but that's where the storytelling comes in. Obviously, you've got that knack of, because moments only matter if you're emotionally invested in something.
Yeah,
you need the right, you need the right promoter, you need the right talent to be able to get that emotion across to pull the fans in.
Yeah.
That when, like, just prior to that moment, you're like, right, you're here in the palm of my hand, right, bang, there's the moment, and that's it, then you remember it.
Absolutely. You need the fans as well to come along with you. So yeah, it's testament to our fans that we know that we've got our regulars that will come and hail, rain or shine. We'll follow what's happening. So yeah, it's those fans that have followed it all the way through that will give you that moment back.
There's very few things, or very few people as loyal in the world as British wrestling fans. I've found. You know, you can kind of obviously you get 87% of British wrestling fans are loyal to the to the core kind of thing. There's obviously the exception to that, but most people I know who I talk to or see at shows, they've just, if you get a promotion, you'll stick with it. A local promotion. This is your first show back after a couple of years after the Global Bastards, and yet you've still got fans ready knocking it off. So I'm sure the tickets are going. Well, you touched on it earlier. Has it just been a slow build to the return, to the comeback? Did you want it to take this long, or is it just
No, I did not want it to take it this long. So we had our last show was the 6th of March 2020, just before the world went sideways. And that was a packed house. It was a really packed house, and I think it was show 2 of an 8-show year, where it was like I was super excited to give people that year because there was loads of new stuff happening, and it got tore away from us right after that second show. And thankfully, I've got a very good relationship with the venue, which is started off being a council run venue, and now it's been privately owned for the last sort of 10 years, maybe slightly less. And I've got a really good relationship with the owners and the general manager, so I stayed in touch with them throughout all COVID. We booked some dates, which in hindsight, I think we booked them in for like June, July 2020. Just it's not going to happen, is it? And then all of a sudden, the venue started not being responsive to my request to book dates in, and I could feel that venue pulling away. And the venue is where the magic is. A great venue, a wonderful venue. It holds about 500 people. It's one of the only venues in the country that's got a springed dance floor. Not that we use it for that, but it's beautiful. Like it's a beautiful place. It doesn't look much from the outside, but when you get in, it's amazing. And so I thought, okay, this is not going to work. We're going to have to get this show back on the road as soon as we can. I'm happy to sit it out now. I'm happy to wait until 21 or whatever. But I think we might need to look for another venue because I'm not getting the vibes back. And then I kept trying with the venue, and they'd obviously lost a lot of money with COVID, and they hadn't made much money prior to that. And they'd brought in Bongos Bingo, and they became Bongos Bingo. Were looking for a non-city place to run at their events. So in between Preston and Manchester, you've got Wigan, and they signed a deal with Bongos Bingos to run events with them. They'd done that prior to us finishing up before COVID, and actually we benefited from them installing about 70 grand's worth of sound and lighting, which was great. Because we'd always lacked that production value, so that was wonderful. But Bongos Bingos started putting in dates in left, right, and centre, and the venue took them because they were making 10 times what they'd make on a wrestling night.
Right.
So we very slowly fell down the priority list until we came off the priority list, and we were told that the venue wouldn't be having us back, which was heartbreaking, but totally understandable because they're making money so I never didn't fall out with anyone. But at that point, I did think, it's maybe time to shut the doors on this, but let's give it one last bash. So I'm glad the what? Sorry,
the stubbornness.
Yeah. I wasn't quite ready to say goodbye. I still feel like we had a story to tell and jobs to do. And I'm glad I did. I held on, and lo and behold, the venue rung January this year and said, "We really miss you. We think we can make this work. But it's got to make money." I was like, well, obviously, yeah. I'm not doing this to lose money. we all need to make some money out of it. So we struck a deal, and it's kind of been a bit of a blessing to take this long, because it's given fans a chance to miss us. A lot of promotions rushed back. I've had, like I said, so many messages about how much fans missed us in British wrestling, missed that vibe. So to keep people waiting, there's no harm in that, I don't think. And if it was up to me, I'd have just wanted to get back on the hamster wheel and do it again straight away. But looking back, I'm really glad of the break. Now we've got the date in place. We've got an agreement with the venue going forward. So it's why we used to do shows on a Friday night. So we've switched it to Sunday because the venue would otherwise be closed. So hopefully it will be a money-making exercise for them as well. But I know that they've been inundated with calls and messages about where's the wrestling. So
nice. Well, that's it. You got the the people behind you. As you say, with the promotion as well, with the location. If they're normally closed on a Sunday, opening up just for you guys, obviously, as long as they make staff and bills cost, anything on top of that is money in their pocket, kind of thing.
Hopefully, yeah.
I mean, based on what we're saying, I can't imagine. I think the first show back, the challenge is going to be maintaining that level after next month's show. The first show back, smashing it, sell out kind of thing. It's then making sure that people come back for every show. And based on what you've said, that's not going to be an issue. As you sort of said, you kind of, the whole thing is storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's what pulls people back in, is the stories.
Yeah, stories and characters. That's it. So yeah, it's we're going to hopefully set it up though that we will be able to announce some more dates, maybe on the night. So fingers crossed it all goes well, and we can do that. But yeah, it's this show will be a show where people will be able to come and enjoy the night and maybe don't feel like they have to come back if they don't want, because issues will be resolved on the night.
Yeah.
If they like what they see, sort of like, this is the shop window, this is the characters that we have and use, then come on, jump on board the train and let's go.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, that's the thing. I don't think any wrestling show kind of should make a fan feel like they've got to come back. It should make them feel like they want to come back.
Yeah.
Which is, like sort of say, if you're telling good stories, you've got the talent there. I can't see it being an issue going forward. It's what you guys kind of built, the foundation of the last 20 years. So you guys know what you're doing, and I'm pretty certain the fans will be that happy to see you back. Plus, as well, Sunday has become the new kind of, most promotions I know now put shows out on a Sunday, whether it be sort of late Sunday afternoon or on a Sunday evening. Well, they do up here anyway.
Do they?
It seems, a lot of the person I go to seems to be on a Sunday. So I won't be too worried about the date change either, kind of thing.
I don't really live in the world of British wrestling, to be honest. I don't really care what everyone else is doing. I hope everyone's doing good, but I don't care. So I just care what I'm doing. So I have no sort of idea. I know there's a couple of local what they're doing, but I just if it works for if it works for the venue, works for me, then we can get it going on a Sunday. Then that's fine.
I can't see why it wouldn't. Like I said, it's not out of the ordinary. So it's not like you have to come along on a Wednesday night or Tuesday night or something. So
no, I don't think many of our fans go to church, so it should.
Even if they do, man.
Yeah.
Even if the church is still open at that time, it's a weird ass church. So the obviously some of the talent that's on the show. Obviously, you know, the whole purpose is telling stories, so you got to make sure you book the right people to tell stories. Yeah, man. So obviously, I'm looking through the card. There's a lot of established guys on there. A lot of guys that are just very technically sound and very, just very, very good at what they do. Joey Hayes, Kirby, Sonar, amongst many others.
Yeah. It's and these are wrestlers that we've had around on the roster for such a long time, and you know, seen them sort of grow up in wrestling and grow up as individuals. So it's really exciting to have them back. But yeah, the card, like I say, the card wrote itself many months ago. This card was a pretty easy one to write, the easiest one to come up with that I can remember, to be honest. It wasn't something that I'd thought about for very long. It just sort of everything fell into place. So yeah, you mentioned the main event, Joey and Sam. So Joey and Sam both came through our training school. Joey was there on the first ever Grand Pro show. You know, anyone who knows British wrestling knows Joey Hayes, and anyone who wrestles in British wrestling wants to wrestle Joey Hayes because he's that good, and he's still that good. What a guy, what a wrestler. And Sam Gradwell is probably our most well-known trainee that's come through our school. Started off life in wrestling, very different to the wrestler he is now, but I am so proud of him, and he is probably one of the most sought after wrestlers in the UK right now. He's busy, really busy. He's all over the place, and the experiences he's had with WWE have just made him such a more rounded wrestler, and a person. He's such a great guy. That match will be phenomenal. These two have wrestled before, and it will bring the house down. That will be worth the ticket price alone. That will bring the house down. I promise you, it will be amazing. But you're saying, you know, Kirby, you mentioned as well with Sonar. Sonar doesn't use much. I don't see his name around, and I don't know why. He's incredible talent, and they have only wrestled once that I know of, Kirby and Sonar. So, I mean, that just seemed like, you know, that just makes you laugh. Yeah,
it fits so well. I say Sonar's. I was speaking to Dale Mills a couple of years ago, and he had Sonar pegged as being like the next big breakout star in British wrestling kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I don't know, for whatever reason, it's just, you know, he's obviously doing really well. He's very well respected. You know, he's absolutely smashing it, but he's not appearing on as many shows as I would have thought by now, kind of thing, which is really weird.
It is. I think there's, you know, it speaks to probably the abundance of wrestlers that are around at the moment. A lot of promotions have their own schools and favour their own trainees, which I can understand. And, you know, and Sonar, you know, he's perhaps not his personality to put himself out there like others do. Yeah. He's a very chilled out, laid back guy. But he's got everything in the ring, and that match will be brilliant. But yeah, we announced another one last night. We've got three titles in the promotion, and what I decided to do was pause the reign on those titles. So no days over COVID were counted as part of the reign, but those champions will come back and defend those titles in July. So we announced the British title match last night, which is held by Sandy Beach, which is another wrestler that you don't see everywhere. Burst onto the scene with us 2017. I think he started. Good quick story about Sandy Beach and about his debut. He's probably
awesome name as well, by the way.
Well,
every time I saw the name, I tried to pop.
Yeah, I think I came up with that one. So Sandy Beach was a trainee at our school under me for a couple of years, and he used to come to shows. Used to be like very good at training. You could see he had some talent, but wasn't quite ready. He used to come and help out at the shows all the time. And there was one show. I've had so many over the 20 years. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a women's match. I think it was a women's tournament we were running, and the girl who was booked to wrestle was ill that day, taken really ill, couldn't come, and I needed a wrestler to wrestle the other girl, but I couldn't get hold of another girl in time, so it had to be a guy. And I went around the roster and I asked a couple of people, and they said no, because it meant doing the job to the female wrestler. And Sandy Beach was there, and he had gear, but he'd not brought his gear to the venue. And I said, listen, I can debut tonight, but you're gonna need to lose to the girl. And I can't remember who you wrestle now. And he said, yeah, no problem. I'm going home to get my gear. And I thought, he's not coming back. He's not coming back. Yeah, but he came back with his gear and he debuted then, and he did the job through. And after that point, I made a storyline up where we kind of forced him on the roster in this sort of loser personality, where he interrupted matches, interrupted people the whole time, and he just kept losing the whole time. And he was a heel, and until the fans started to get behind him, and then he won, and it was massive. He won the first match, I think, after about a year and a half, until he got to the British title. He lost the British title, then won it back, and he's had the title ever since. And he's against Mickey Barnes, and he's another one that's come through our school. And this match will surprise people, because they've not seen Sandy Beach for ages, and people don't know how good Mickey Barnes is. He's been in the business now 10 years. He's been quietly honing his craft every single weekend. People don't know how good he is, and they should know. And this is his opportunity. He's been predominantly a tag team wrestler for us, although he has had some singles matches. But this is his opportunity to show what he can do in a title match, and I think it will surprise people.
Nice. That's the thing as well. That's always the great thing about like local shows, is you've got your talent, and as a fan, you think of them as your guys, your talent, your people kind of thing. And yeah, it's just great when you sort of see guys like this, or as an outside fan who's just watching footage, it's a great exposure, because like, yeah, never heard of this person before. That match was awesome. I'm now going to go and look at other stuff, that they've done, and it's a good way of getting people eyes on your product as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Sandy Beach, I'm getting a very Mikey Ritrek vibe from back in the ECW days.
Kind of a similar look. He's definitely got that surfer dude type look about him.
It's a lovable loser thing as well. Say back in the day kind of thing. That's what Mikey was, a regular ripping boy back in the old school ECW kind of thing. So yeah,
that's right. Yeah. He's sort of evolved on this. Was going back to the origin story bit now. He's sort of evolved on. He's sort of learned the lessons why he was losing in a storyline sense, and is now turned into the total opposite. He's turned into a winner. In fact, we turned it around. We used to have like a tournament that we'd run. I'm not sure we'll run it again, to be honest. But we used to have a tournament called the Crazy Cruiser 8, where there was 8 cruiserweights that would wrestle on a night, and it's a knockout tournament. And Sandy Beach started his winning streak on that night and ended up winning. So he'd gone 18 months losing and won 3 times in one night to win the tournament. So so now he's like the total. He's opposite of where he started. He's a winner, and the fans have come along with him on that journey. So he's probably one of the most over people on our roster. And Mickey Barnes has been the most consistent heat-getting heel we've had on shows for the last 10 years. Like, people just love to hate the guy, so expect loud reactions with that match.
Well, that's just those 3 matches alone should get the tickets sort of sold. Going back to Sam, obviously I'm based over here in Leeds, so I'm sort of the other side of the hills, and he's popping up over here. Like you sort of said, he's probably one of the most sought after talents in the country today. And rightly so, like you sort of said, did time with WWE. He's honing stuff. He's kind of learned what he needs to have learned, and just putting it into good practice. And he's just looking like the finished article. He
looks great. He looks absolutely great. He looks like an absolute superstar. And he is. His whole attitude matches the way he looks as well. There was really no other main event. That's going to be the main event. He and Joey is going to be the main event, and there's really no other main event we could have possibly have brought to our 20-year anniversary show, because those two are Grand Pro sons. You know, they've grown up with us. They've grown up in the training system. They've grown up on the shows as people, as wrestlers, and they're sort of synonymous with us as well. So, you know, and it's a match that we have done before, but we, you know, never on this sort of pedestal. So, and it's not been overdone. So, and I know both of them are so excited to work each other in this environment. So, yeah, that is amazing. I'm really excited for it.
Well, I mean, Joey's a Hall of Famer, is he not? For you guys.
Yeah, so yeah, the Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's hokey or not. And it wasn't started by me. It wasn't my idea. So I was due to move abroad, which didn't happen, and I was passing Grand Pro on to other people to hold the reins whilst I was working abroad. It never happened, but some people involved organised me to go into the Hall of Fame, which was kind of cool at the time. So I thought, let's carry this on. So we've inducted people every year. Joey got inducted a few years before COVID. We will induct a new member this time round as well. Let's keep it going. You know, we're not going anywhere. I think people will get that now after 20 years. So we're not going anywhere. So, you know, the Hall of Fame will mean something to people in years to come.
That's it. I think the whole Hall of Fame, as long as you've got that legacy, as long as you've been around long enough. I mean, if a promotion that started 2 or 3 years ago did a Hall of Fame,
yeah, yes.
But I mean, like, yeah, you're 20 years. I think obviously you must have been in over a decade before you even did the first one, kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's totally credible. There's so many moments, so much history, so much talent come through the doors, kind of thing. It's just nice to recognise them and give them their moment, kind of thing. Because that's how I see a Hall of Fame. It's just the promoter and the fans saying thank you.
Yeah, 100%, and you know, yeah, give them the opportunity to just take that thanks on and yeah, be recognised by the wider people. Well, yeah, there'll be a new one going in as well. I'm not going to tell you who that is. You'll find out on the night. Yeah.
But Joey Hayes, is he like one of the best British talents to have not been signed? You know, to like the promotion.
100%, he's got to be in that conversation. Yeah, there's a few that spring to mind, but yeah, Joey, you know, he had some opportunities with the WWE, and he probably needed more. He needed more, but Joey's really happy doing what he's doing. Like he likes wrestling different people. He likes wrestling people that have been around for ages. He likes wrestling people in the first match. He loves wrestling. He just loves pro wrestling, and he's still innovative with his stuff now, and he's just got such a good attitude to matches that he will never do a rinse and repeat match. You'll always get a fresh match from Joey, and you know, he has been the wrestler every other wrestler wanted to wrestle for such a long time now, and that it's not going away. People still have him on the top of their list. But yeah, it's, you know, WWE's loss is our gain. You know, we get to see Joey nearly every weekend, and you know, long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Fights will say we benefit hugely from it, and just a massive shout out to him as well. He's just an all-round awesome human being. I think
he's a great kid. Yeah.
A few interactions with, it's always a delight. It's always really nice. He's always got time as well, which I think is really important. And when I've been speaking to some of the younger guys or some of the guys that seem to be on the top of their thing that they're doing at the minute, Joey's name comes up and they always give him a shout out or they give him credit, or you know, it's just, there's always like a little Joey story that kind of makes you smile and be like, yeah, there we go, that's the moment, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's a really special guy, and we're spoiled by having him around, so he can help, and you know, he's been around such a long time. I've known Joey for 23 years, so he started when I was already around, or maybe 22 years. So I've known him in such a long time. Yeah, I had some great times with Joey, really fun times.
I'm going to throw another name out because I sort of I like to kind of, if I could get people who have been around long enough, I would like to see if they've had any run-ins with, also, you know, stories of Chris Travis.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. I've got a few stories about Chris.
Just off the top of the head, the first story that comes to mind, just if people have had interactions with Chris in the past, I always kind of like to keep the name out there, keep the memory going, and just ask for just a good story, like a favourite story of Travis?
Yeah, so I think there's a few, but one that I always kind of like to tell was when we were booking Chris back when we started. So I don't think he was on our first ever show, but he was on. No, he wasn't on our first show, but he probably was on our second. So back in 2003, and I continued to use Chris when I took over the reins, and we did. I mentioned it earlier, the Crazy Cruiserweight tournament, and we booked Chris in the Crazy Cruiserweight tournament, the first ever one. And we made a big deal of it. We don't often bring people in from abroad, but when we do, I'd like to think it mattered. And we brought someone in from abroad for the tournament, and we got T-shirts printed up. We'd not done that before the whole thing. This was 2006, and Chris was due to go out in the first round. I can't remember who he wrestled, and he turned up to the venue on time, looking sort of very sheepish. And I said, "Are you all right? Are you okay?" He said, "Not really, Johnny, no." I said, he said, "But I'm still wrestling tonight." I said, "Good, you're in the tournament. You better wrestle tonight." He said, "Yeah, but the only thing is I've got this injury." I said, "What injury is it?" And he had his hands behind his back, and he pulled out. He'd been playing football either that day or the day before, and he'd broken his finger, and his finger was bent back like that.
God.
And I was like, "Oh, how are you gonna wrestle?" Well, he did. He wrestled like that, and that's a cool story that I'm certain you've probably not heard before. But that is his commitment to the tournament, his commitment to wrestling. So many people would. I mean, I've had people pull out of shows because they've stood on plugs before or hurt themselves getting out of bed. He came with a broken finger that was bent the wrong way, all plastered up and everything, or bandaged up, and he still, he knew he was going. He knew he was probably getting, I don't know, 6-7 minutes that night and going out in the first round, and he still came and did his job and did a great job, and no one would have known he was injured.
So that's just another story of of what Chris did when he turned up, did the work, very professional, and then just kind of cracked on. So yeah, that's awesome. I can add that to the list of stories that I've been told. So well, obviously Chris's former tag team partner, mine, Kirby. Obviously, we mentioned the match earlier. Obviously, spent a lot of time picking up Sam and Joey. I kind of just want to also do a massive shout out to Martin as well, because I think he's I know when he retired a few years ago, I thought it was a massive loss to British wrestling. So he's come back in, and as fans and as a promoter, we're reaping the benefits. Yeah,
I think I know Martin pretty well. Again, I think he started off as a GPW fan before he became a GPW wrestler, and then once he was on that roster, he's never left. We've had him on every single time because he's one of the most important people in British wrestling. He can do anything. He can do opening match, he can do main event, he can do a serious match, he can do comedy match, hardcore. Whatever you want from Martin, you will get. And I was so happy to see him come back out of retirement. I think that one of his goals was always been to wrestle for Dragon Gate in Japan, and that's what he got to do. And after that, when he came back from Japan, it was what does he do now? What's the new goal? And I think he retired. I might have my timeline slightly out here, but he retired either just before COVID or just as COVID started. And it's a shame to go out in it, like that, almost sort of be wrapped up in all that mess with COVID and stuff. So I was overjoyed to see him make the decision to return, and obviously he was one of the first names on the team sheet for the anniversary show, because it wouldn't be a Grand Pro show without Kirby.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, he's just like I say, it's the old guard, not old, but what I mean. He's one of the ones that I class as being the godfathers of the rebirth, 15, 20 years ago kind of thing. So yeah, Kirby is seeing his evolution as a wrestler, from when he had hair to when he shaved it and started being badass. It's like, there we go.
Well, he actually shaved his hair when he lost the hair versus hair match at Grand Pro.
Was it? Oh well, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I thought he just had a bit of defeat. It was like that. That's it. I'm
No.
be a bad ass.
No, it was he come to me with it. He said, he's one of the busiest wrestlers in the country and has been for a long time, and he wanted a storyline to do it. So where better to come than so we built a story around it. We had some fun matches with Kirby. Some fun matches. We had a match where there's a local Tesco near the venue, and the loser of the match he had with Ashton Smith was banned from Tesco, and that was out of Kirby's brain. And we had another match where he would lose his house and he became homeless. So we did homeless Kirby for a bit, which is great, which he sort of embraced and lived underneath the ring with a sleeping bag as part of the storyline. So superb guy. Very lucky to still have him around.
No, definitely. And I just want to say, mate, it's just a credit to GPW. It just goes to show the amount of talent that you guys have consistently had, kind of thing. Also, I know we all about like Sandy before, and a few other people. It's just you've got to think you've got the combination of homegrown guys that were homegrown but then went off and came back. I just think you've kind of got that balance.
Yeah,
bang on.
Thank you.
Thing. So, is the school still going? Are you still churning out any fresh talent?
No, really sad about it. We had such a good run at the school. I think I've lost count how many people came out of that school, but a lot of them are still around. A lot of them made their contributions and they left. But the school we lost the school in COVID pretty much. But it became difficult to manage because I was in charge of that school. I did the majority of the training at that school, and when I had a little boy, the school was based in Manchester, and I was missing for the whole of Sunday when we did the training, and we were leaving my wife at home with a little baby, then going back to work Monday to Friday, and just trying to juggle everything around that 1 free day a week. On the Saturday became a bit taxing over time, so it just became like we tried to sub it out, and but it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. It was my school. It was me at the helm, and it wasn't the same without me. That might come across a little arrogant, but it was my identity on that school and my personality on that school. It's not like a school you would ever find anywhere today, and it probably wouldn't work today because they're a little harsh on people. But I would open it again tomorrow, but if I could, but time just doesn't allow.
Yeah, it's priorities and stuff, and as much as we all love wrestling and stuff, you got a little one, man. That's always going to come first. So you have to prioritize and do what you need to do. I suppose it hopefully gives you more time to focus on the shows and stuff, though. So any extra energy after the little ones let you sleep, you can focus it towards the shows.
Yeah, that's it. It's a shame because we that school sort of propped up a lot of the roster that we had. So now we have to go and source it elsewhere, which I don't like doing because I don't like watching anyone else's show. But I try to pretend that we're the only British wrestling promotion in the country. I'm only kidding, but not really. And it's a shame that it's not there anymore. But it does sort of give you a chance to have a bit of a helicopter view of things rather than being stuck right in the middle of wrestling the whole time. Because it's a business that will chew you up and spit you out. So being able to come away from it a little bit does help.
Yeah, keeps it fresh, I suppose. It keeps you eager as opposed to burning you out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, then, like say, outsourcing for talent. I presume, you've got guys like you trust. You've got like Kirby's and your Joeys and stuff on the card. Do you pick their brains? Do you sort of say like, who have you been in the ring with recently that you would recommend?
Yes, all the time. Yeah, they're kind of like probably my go-to guys. Sam as well. Go-to guys, what they're like. But people, when you run a wrestling promotion, you have a lot of people coming to you to make recommendations anyway, for new people, and then I'll probably get a recommendation a day. It's just using a little bit of nuance about are they good? And it's not, I don't want the best wrestlers on the card. I want the people that will be willing to sink themselves into a storyline, into a character. Would they perhaps consider changing character? Would they perhaps consider buying new gear to play a new character? Would they, if they're a heel, would they consider doing babyface? What can they bring? Can they talk? Because there's so many wrestlers that still can't talk now. You can't tell stories with wrestlers that can't talk. So it's important. I don't want to see, highlight reels. I'm probably more interested in seeing a wrestler make his entrance, and are the fans engaged with his entrance? Is he engaged with his entrance? That probably matters more to me than watching a highlight reel of moves, to be honest. And then I just want decent people. If I'm spending my Sunday day with knobheads, then I'm not going to enjoy it. So let's get a group of people together who are decent humans and just put on a wrestling show.
So I'll go on a limb and sort of say anybody who's interested in working for GPW, send promos as opposed to highlight reels.
Don't send me highlight reels. The other thing as well that I'm interested in is send me a 4-minute match, because I don't want to watch a 20-minute match. I just don't care that much about your match. But give me a 4-minute match. Give me something where you can tell me a story in a 4-minute format, and I can see that you know what a gym looks like, and you know how to put a wrist lock on, and show me you can make an entrance and make people care. That's what I'm interested in, really.
You mentioned there about the gym, because that's always been something obviously as a fan. I was talking to somebody about it the other day, kind of thing, and there definitely seems to be different degrees within obviously wrestling in Britain, as promoters, as companies, as talent goes. You got your £5 tickets, £10 tickets, £30 tickets, and you can kind of tell the more expensive the show gets, the better the talent physically looks. It's like obviously becoming more and more of a must-have. You've got to look the part, kind of. You've got
absolutely. Yeah. It's been a bugbear of mine since I started. If it doesn't look like I can beat you in a fight, then it's not. You don't perhaps look the part. And what I used to say to my trainees all the time was, go to the bathroom by yourself, take off all your clothes, leave your underpants on, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, would you pay £10 to see you in the ring, or do you need to go to the gym? And the answer was always, I needed to go to the gym. Okay, good, get your membership sorted and let's get going. But there are certain body types you can make allowances for. That underdog thing, or perhaps it's someone who looks like shit that think they look great. The sort of a deluded type character. There are allowances you can make, but you can't make a roster worth of allowances on that. You've got to have a roster that looks like wrestlers. Otherwise, it's not a wrestling show. It's a kids show. I hate it. I really don't like it. If people have got to look good, and don't get me wrong, we've made mistakes with that. We've had people that haven't looked good on our shows before. But now, I wouldn't even consider it unless it's part of a gimmick or something. So, but yeah, it's important to me. Yeah,
no, right. So I think, there's always the exceptions, kind of thing. I mean, even in like WWE, you got Kevin Owens and guys like that are the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
But their talent just exudes. Why they can get away with wrestling in a t-shirt because it's Kevin Owens, for God's sake, kind of thing. But like 90% of everybody else, you have to look the part. You have to. But yeah, that's what as I've been watching British wrestling for like 10, 15 years, I've kind of noticed over the years more and more and more guys and girls now genuinely look the part.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to a guy that works primarily over here called Inserico. He's champion for one of the promoters, and he put it down to Joey Hayes. Apparently he sat in the locker room and Joey sort of says, look, this was like when NXT UK was on a roll. Like, look, we've all got an option here to go up to the next level if you want to, but you've got to look the part.
Yeah.
And the penny dropped, and it was like, right, and the guys come back, and he's just like,
yeah.
But again, based on words of wisdom from Joey, which I'm presuming, may even have come from you, from you've got it drilled into his head? Because Joey's always been one of the guys that looked the part.
Yeah, not always. When he started,
Yeah.
when he started, he looked like a toothpick. But Joey's had some. Joey went through a period of looking like he had a body that was just like from Bruce Lee. He always looks the part. It is massively important. Once if you get a roster of people that care, and they start seeing one person making that change and making progress with the body, and maybe not just the body, but start investing in better gear, better boots, better everything, then it think, oh shit, maybe I should do that, and it's as a knock-on effect. It just takes that little spark to do it. I'm absolutely all for it.
Yeah, fully agree. And like I said, it was always those guys that were on like like I said, your Haskins, your Kirbys, your Hazers, your Travises, Rampagers. Those guys stood out from the rest of the British talent at the time.
Yeah,
because they looked
that
kind of thing. And I think
Absolutely.
It's something that people are finally starting to realise.
Yeah,
you see it less and less on shows now. And it's even getting to the point where if you see somebody who doesn't look like they are a wrestler, I'm kind of like, it takes me a little bit longer to kind of pay attention to the poster or product.
Yeah. It's like we've said a few times over the last hour or so. It's finding a balance as well. So you don't want to get into the Vince McMahon of the early '90s period where you're forcing people down to take anabolics and stuff. So it's which I've seen on rosters. I've seen people take one wrestler take steroids, and then all the wrestlers start taking steroids because that wrestler's getting bigger. It's just about being smart, and there's so many options out there for people to follow nutrition, diets, and workout plans and stuff. There's really no excuse for people to, if they want to do it properly.
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that probably a large chunk of people that I talk to seem to have some sort of history of personal training, or they trained to be a personal trainer, or they were a personal trainer, or they're doing that on the side kind of thing. Because it's the kind of job that fits perfectly with being a wrestler.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. There's a lot of people. You're right that do that as a job, or have done that as a job. Absolutely. Or people that have taken it as a job since they started wrestling.
That's the one. So, dude, I've just clocked like we have gone over the hour mark. I don't want to keep you too long. So, I mean, obviously, we've kind of touched on the past. We've the history of GPW. We're also talking the anniversary show. And the future. I mean, you said prior to the Global Bastard, it was going to be an 8-show year. Is that your kind of aim going forward? Are you looking to sort of do a show every 2 months, every 6 weeks, every month?
It's the aim is going forward is it swings on the success of next month, July the 9th. It swings on the success of that. If I'm happy with it, if the venue are happy with it, if the fans are happy with it, then we are going to do 4-show years going forward. So that's the deal I have with the venue. We're going to do a show every season to keep things fresh, to keep people interested, not oversaturate it. Because if you're doing shows we've been doing monthly shows at the same venue for 20 years. So if we can separate it out a little bit, we will still be able to give the fans a storyline, character-based show, but keeping it special. So that is the plan going forward. So we have some dates agreed with the venue, but it all swings on the success of this one, if we're all happy.
Dude, I literally cannot sort of see it not being successful based on everything we've talked about. Everything I've seen online, you're sort of saying that the fans' reactions, the fans' demand, the demand's there. Obviously, it's just up to you now to supply the goods. Which, you're not in the business for 20 years if you don't know how to do that. So
no, it'll be an awesome show. And I'm super excited to get there. It's ticking away now. Time is ticking away. We're getting close. I think we're on 24 days or something like that now. So it's getting closer and closer. And it's so people, if you're listening, get yourself there if you can.
Definitely. I'll put your. Well, do you want to plug your socials and stuff while I've got you on here? And I'll put
can do
in the video as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to get to a point where we're not doing people paying on the door just for staffing staffing issues really. We won't have the staff to accommodate people who are bringing cash to pay on the night. So it's pre-order only, so you can get those tickets either through Skiddle and searching through Grand Pro Wrestling, or you can go to the venue's website, which is the Monaco, all one word, the Monaco, monaco.co.uk, and this list of events there. Or you can follow us on Twitter at Grand Pro, Grand Pro Wrestling on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll be plugging it on there as well. So yeah, those are the socials. I won't plug my personal socials because I'm the most disappointing friend to add on all socials because I don't do anything. But if people really feel the need, they want to go and search me out, they can do. But yeah, those are the important ones.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, make sure obviously you give them a follow, share, retweet, anything, GPW post, get eyes on the product, make sure next month's show is going to be a success, which I'm certain it's going to be anyway without my help or without people doing anything. I think it's just naturally going to be a success. As I say, the demand there. It's just on you guys to turn up and do what you do. So, and I think you'll do it and you'll smash it personally. So I'm not going to say fingers crossed because it's not needed. Obviously, thank you for watching this. Hit like, subscribe, share, follow us on Twitter, WTLS420. Everything else. If you're not following already, then go do it now. But yeah, Johnny, thank you so much for chatting. I'll hopefully chat to you again in the future. I'd like to sort of get your take on how you felt the show went afterwards.
Awesome. Yeah, great idea.
We can big up the next show after that as well.
That sounds great. Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Good. Right, cheers, dude. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we will see you all again very soon.
Cheers.
Don't go